Costello opened his phone and began to play the Miles Davis song. He sent it to his home theater and told Avery he would never be able to hear this song again without remembering this day. Avery, as she always does, sat and gave Costello all of her attention. He could tell she knew the psilocybin theory didn't have much teeth. He did something he typically didn't do and validated her assumption without getting into the complex details he so frequently was pathetically proud of giving. It wasn't time for that. In fact, he finally realized most times it was really unnecessary. It dawned on him we don't live in an exciting trial where intricate details were so very necessary. Avery had a theory, and instead of telling her why that wasn't the case, he decided to thank her for showing concern and prepared himself to tell her how severe his mental illness had become. Costello told her he suffered from schizophrenic episodes and routinely interacted with people from his past. She asked if this was what just occurred, and he nodded. He told her this was an anomaly of the occurrences. This was while not drinking heavily, and also the first time he'd encountered this particular person. He described the young girl from the track and what she told him. It was very rare that Costello would encounter any of the staff at the track, so this got him thinking about why she was the visitor this time. The Miles Davis song made sense. It was occasionally playing in the lounge at the track, and he was always intrigued by the powerful piano playing. There was one time he asked Granz who the song was performed by, and he didn't know, but Granz went out of his way to ask around and with determination finally found someone who told them the artist. That's when he remembered the girl wasn't even a betting window worker. She used to bring drinks to Granz and the others after they were done playing the horses and debriefing their day. Had she gone on to work at the window, he thought? He knew sometimes folks would tip really well, so it was a good promotion to take. Is that why she said he hasn't come back? She told me I never came back to the track, he said to Avery. Was that all? Avery asked. Costello told her he asked why that mattered, and she told him it was time he show up and take the most difficult path. Avery assumed immediately Costello was subconsciously telling himself to take the harder choice. She got up from her breakfast and embraced him, reminding him he wanted to face every challenge on this tour. Avery expressed her initial concern that the psilocybin may have been problematic, but then began to see that Costello was overcoming internal conflicts. She told him she would support his choice to continue the microdosing or get back on his pharmaceuticals. She was in between two stools because she saw the potential with the plant medicine to help him wean off the pills. But with so much other mental conflict in his life, she just wanted to be the best support system she could for him. Costello lit up at the way Avery engaged with him. He jumped right into talking about other encounters with his guests and the battery of toasts he'd crafted. He felt so free and loved, being able to talk about things that he thought he would have to hold on to forever. However, he was careful not to discuss the last few gatherings that encompassed the details of Seattle. As much as he was opening up to her, it wasn't time to spook her with that mess. Avery had an aunt who she believed battled similar mental illnesses to Costello. Most of her family gave up on her and turned their back as she devolved from a very content florist with a home and a husband to a recluse and a streamliner paying for campsites with government assistance. Avery would seek her out to check on her from time to time, tidying up her camper and making sure her animals were properly cared for and fed. Costello was clearly drawn to Avery's altruism, but he had no idea how much of it came from her mother's sister, a kind woman who showed her at a very young age that we are all fragile beings dancing around in a universe full of people who have become hyper-focused on themselves. So much so that the ones they love can wander off unwell and they don't even notice. Avery was dynamic with dialogue and timing. Most people would just jump right into sharing stories about Aunt Fran, thinking it's a good time to bond over a commonality. She knew that's not what Costello needed. It wasn't time for that. He needed to tell his stories. Tell me whatever you're comfortable with sharing. I'm here to be a sounding board or someone to just share opinions with. I'm clearly no expert in the field of psychology, but we can work through anything troubling you together, Avery said with perfect empathy. Costello smiled and responded. All of these guests who visit me and all of the toasts or riddles I've crafted are part of my life. They're part of my corner in the abyss. And without them, I truly believe I would be even more lost. Being able to share them with you today and exhale just enough has helped me see I no longer need to fear myself. You're pretty remarkable, Avery. Now, how about we shelve these stories of my broken mind and save them for later? I've got to find my way through the Appalachians so I can get to Maine. Avery walked over to her bag and pulled out her tablet. She spoke her name, triggering the voice recognition, and the screen opened up. She tapped a few times and spun it around on the table. Costello scrolled through a document she'd written detailing the best passage through West Virginia and the Appalachian Mountains. His eyes lit up, and he stammered for a few seconds. Avery cleared her throat in a very clear expression of seeking validation. You knew I would take the path of most resistance. Costello finally got it out. Avery shot back with confidence. Knew at the moment I met you. Now, can we finish breakfast? Costello jumped up and threw all the plates in the sink. He knew the rest of the tour was self-explanatory and their day was free, so he insisted they call his mom and meet for brunch. Avery freaked the fuck out. He was clearly manic and not realizing Avery would take meeting his mother quite seriously. She didn't even know his mother was nearby. He hadn't discussed her much, and Avery hadn't noticed him mentioning any phone calls or texts, so she was thinking maybe he needed to pump the brakes. Costello was dug in. Even after Avery pleaded her case, he had it all mapped out and wasn't backing down. Mom lived about 90 miles north, and he hadn't seen her in a while. It all culminated with Costello. He was realizing her impact on his life. His choice to do the tour against the advice of his doctor was heavy. Avery was becoming a partner he wanted his mom to know about. He knew in his heart of hearts his mom deserved to know all of this. Once he expressed all of this to Avery, she couldn't see any other option than making sure she was dressed appropriately for brunch with Mom. Costello told her if everything she's been saying to him so far has been sincere, she could wear her pajamas and he would want nothing more than to share her with his mom.